Class, hello and welcome to this teaching assistant session on supporting learning. I will be your tutor, Big Owl. Today, we're going to look at learning objectives, planning. First, let's look at learning objectives. All classroom activities will be designed to meet a set of learning objectives. It is important, therefore, that you have a clear understanding of these objectives and what they are designed to achieve. The class teacher may ask for your input in planning the activity, whether written or verbal, as well as in the delivery of the activity and an evaluation. You may, for example, make suggestions when the teacher is explaining the support you will be required to provide, or give feedback at the end of the activity regarding what went well and what, if any, difficulties you faced when supporting pupils.
Will I be told what I need to do during the lesson?
Yes, within your role, you will be required to follow the plan set by the class teacher and use the appropriate learning materials. You will be there to support pupils during the activity, someone they can ask for help, and to encourage pupils to keep working, praising them for good work, suggestions, and behavior. You may be required to support all of the pupils in the classroom, moving between tables throughout the lesson, or you may be assigned to work with a specific group or individual pupil. Your role, however, is not only to support those pupils with lower attainments, you may also be asked to work with those pupils who will require additional extension tasks once they have finished the main activity. Your ultimate aim is to support pupils to become independent learners. It is important to monitor pupils' progress and to give feedback to the class teacher on your observations. You are also required to support the class teacher or other colleagues who may be present in the setting in which you are working. This involves setting up the learning environment, maintaining a safe working environment throughout the activity, dealing with minor pupil problems, reporting serious ones to the member of staff in authority, and clearing up at the end of the activity or lesson. You must also ensure that you follow and uphold the rewards and sanctions policy, as well as ensuring you adhere to the school inclusion and equal opportunities policy. It's important that you also use your initiative. If a group of pupils are being disruptive, it's important that you help to resolve this so that the teacher can teach the class without interruption.
You said that we might be involved in lesson planning. Would we ever be responsible for planning an activity ourselves?
Yes, although you will often be following the lesson plans created by the class teacher, you may be responsible for planning an activity that will take place within the lesson, or for an activity that you will undertake with a small group of pupils, such as speech and language programs, reading activities, and so on. Planning for children's learning and development can be divided into three categories, namely short, medium, and long-term. Short-term planning. This type of planning can be used for a specific activity or perhaps for a full day or week's activities. Medium-term planning. This type of planning usually extends over a period of 3 to 4 weeks. Long-term planning. This type of planning can be spread over the course of a year. In order for you to work effectively, you will need to grasp the basics with regard to planning. Planning your daily, weekly, and monthly activities need not be difficult. We all spend some of our time planning whether we realize it or not. It may not be apparent, but when you are deciding what to make for dinner each day, you are using a form of planning. You think about who you are cooking for, how many people you're going to feed, what you're going to make, what ingredients you will need, which items you will need to shop for and which you already have, the time you will need to prepare and cook the meal, and when it needs to be ready for. By simply making a meal from start to finish, you have effectively planned your time. You will need to do this in the course of your working day. Planning is essentially about preparing, making arrangements, and then checking that the arrangements you have made are actually effective. The planning process consists of 4 separate steps, namely plan, observe and assess, evaluate, implement. It is important to remember when making your plans that children are learning all the time through their senses, the way they explore their surroundings and their interactions with others. Your overall aims when planning activities for pupils should be to encourage pupils to reach their full learning potential, to meet the pupils' individual developmental needs, to meet the pupils' individual learning needs, to build on the existing knowledge and skills of the pupil. It is important to remember that, whilst careful planning of appropriate learning activities is essential, these plans must always be flexible. Always have a plan B to use when an activity does not work out as you planned or expected. This happens to everyone at one time or another, but it is important to identify why an activity may not have worked out as you planned, and what you could do to improve the activity for next time. To summarize what we have learned today, we have looked at learning objectives, planning, our role and responsibilities as a teaching assistant. Goodbye, class, and good luck!